thing is that they said afterwards, it was so powerful just to sit in the dark and sit in grief, to sit in pain. One of our former volunteers here, who was an amazing yet interesting character, she was Christian, and part of her own devotions to Christ was she experienced the grief of the mother Mary, grief of the mother, which is just like the grief of Isis. And she said, she came here and she had nowhere else to go, but she didn't think that this was the right place for her. But then when she discovered we had a tomb, she would sit in the tomb every day for an hour or two, just cry, just have this cathartic release. And when you're walking by, you don't know what's going on, you're hearing the sorrow, you are just, woo! It's powerful, it makes you, ah! But for her, she was experiencing her own sorrow. This was a woman who literally led a tragic life with capital letters underscored in this, cursive. And at the end of her time here, she said that she had never felt better, and she was so happy and that we allowed her to have those moments in her tomb. And that's what that place is for. That place is to sit somewhere where it's private and just have moments of grief. Because Isis is the Lady of Sorrow, but she's also the goddess who breaks the chains of sorrow. So today on the Osiris effect, we all are experiencing this. And once again, that scroll, it's timely, it's powerful. We all are experiencing the grief of Isis, but we're not yet at the point where we can be awakened to the joy of life. That's coming. That's coming. There is going to be a better tomorrow. I can't tell you enough, one, that her grace, even though we never ask for it, it's always given, but her grace is redemptive, her grace is regenerative, her grace is what allows the Osiris effect for us to move forward, because Isis has already apotheosed herself. Isis has already been a self-realized deity. She's up, down, up, down. That's the story of Isis. She comes down to help you, and then she reascends. And that pathway is the pathway that we follow. Yet beyond all of that, I promise you, that even though we are collectively going through this dark night of the soul, and that we are grieving, and that we are in this covered of ash, fear, frustration, we're in the world of dust, Isis herself tells you, I promise at the end of this dark night of the soul that there will be a blessed dawn. There will be moments where the grief washes away and we are awoken to the innocent light of love. And part of that innocent light of love is her title of the sun that shines at midnight. Even in utter darkness, there is a divine light that breaks through this world of dust, breaks through the coating, grief, the ash, the grime that we cover ourselves with, and the pain that we all are experiencing. And in the same moments, love and grief, all one. That's the Osirian effect. So allow yourself to sit with your grief. Allow yourself to sit with your pain. Allow yourself to simply be in it. And, I did this myself last night. I thought I was going to I had a whole day planned out of, doing chores around the oasis. And it hit me so hard that I literally just had to fast. I had to literally sit in the dark all day. I'm not joking, I listened to Chinese zither music for 6 hours. Then I sat in the dark after I did some yoga, and in the darkness, I literally felt the waves of grief, the waves of pain, the waves of love just wash through me. And I finally, I couldn't bear it, so I turned on Rumi poetry. I turned on someone chanting Rumi poetry. And that was so powerful, and it sparked me, and it opened me up, and it allowed me to come to the thing that, yes, love is grief, love is sorrow, but without the sorrow, you can't experience the good part of love. And it really brought me to a place that I need to sit with my grief. I need to sit with the chains that the shackles that I had willingly put on myself. I had to recognize that I put them on myself. And they were shackles of grief, they were shackles of sorrow, and I had to recognize that, I can let those go. And that was intense, and it was painful, and I can't tell you how more mystical it was, because it's still really raw for me, but it was powerful. But I literally had to make the choice not to do anything, not to let the outside world call me out. I had to make the choice to sit in the darkness, in the painfulness by myself, and allow it to happen. And that for me was a moment of integration, separation, and just experiencing love and grief and sorrow. Part of the reason I needed that is because during these last 3 months of the Oasis, we haven't been alone. We've constantly been in community. We've constantly been around people. And so when other people talk about the dark night of the soul and the isolation, I get it in waves, but I haven't been able to be alone enough to process it. So this for me was, out of the 1 to 10 volume, I was at 25. I was literally shaking afterwards, but it was powerful. And so today that we talk about the Osiris effect, there will be a dawn after this dark night of the soul that we're all going to find. Her divine grace and her divine love is regenerative, is redemptive. So I give that to you all. I give it to you all that things will get better, but we need to sit with our grief before we can transform it. You can't transform something until you are sitting and being and simply one with the Taoist action of non-action. And on that note, I am going to open it up like we normally do, because this is not a preachy Sunday service. I didn't mean it to go on this long, but we are going to open it up to the other clergy here in the aisles of deTraci Regula. deTraci's first today. Excuse me while I'm just having a moment right now, apparently. But let me go like this. Let me put deTraci on. Let me put her on spotlight video. You guys can't see it, but that's okay.
It's okay.
Thank you. Tracy, go ahead.
Thank you, Justin. That was really powerful. I think it reflects what a lot of people are experiencing right now. And there is something to be learned of the Osirian mysteries and of the idea of lying kind of in state with grief and with sorrow. And they're finding that worldwide, everyone is more depressed, more tense, more distressed. And a lot of it is the lack of human connection. I know what you mean, being here at Isis Oasis, where we have an on-site community and so on. We actually have not experienced some of the deeper aspects of that. When I first returned from Egypt and was in, house quarantine for 14 days, I had a little bit of a feeling of that. Because most of my human contact was with you and other things by text and so on. But I did have a sense of, in some ways, restorative isolation. But I think it was easier to feel that way 3 months ago than now. And just like space travelers, the astronauts, they have to, screen so carefully because they're going to be at the space station for a year, or, they're going to be really isolated in ways that are hard to handle for humans. We are social creatures, and we are experiencing that social distancing can have its negative effects for our psyches. It may be good for our physical forms right now and help us survive, but for our mental forms and inner spirit, it can be very challenging. And what I can advise, I think most everyone knows this by now, is to keep in touch the ways that we are through Zoom, through phone calls. I'm finding that phone calls are actually, in some ways, a better way to communicate now than text or email, because you at least get part of the whole human being when you're on the phone. You have the voice as well as just the words. And for many of us, it's still more natural just to speak than to try to text something, even though now the voice recognition has made it a little bit easier in that respect. So I think it's important for us to, as you've discovered, retain our daily spiritual practices, to keep up with our, daily rites, our daily prayers, and also to have that sense of just sitting with the divine. I found myself called to go up to our grand temple and just sit, not do anything, not really be consciously praying or anything, but just sit within that energy. And I know that there's a Catholic tradition that is similar to that, where people will go and sit with the host, sit with the symbolic body of Jesus in Catholic churches. And I feel like I'm echoing something of that by just sitting with, the divine images, with the sense of our liturgy, and to simply be there with it and set up a deeper, I think, inner resonance with that which we follow and that which we call divine. And it's good to have the time to do that, but we also are really craving setting up that inner resonance with those that we love and know, and to be able to spend physical time with them, which is coming soon for much of the world. There's a number of places that are still at really the peak of suffering. I'm very concerned about all my friends and students and readers in Brazil right now, because the situation there is quite dire, and the information that's being shared is even less accurate than some other places, as it has been. So Brazil is definitely on my heart. I seem to have been dropped from the Zoom meeting. So hello everyone that's on my live feed right now. We're trying to share our Sunday scrolls here from the Temple of Isis in Geyserville, California, which we do every Sunday at 3 p.m. This is a tradition that started with Lady Lorian and has continued to this time. And so welcome everyone that is watching. You can also normally watch it on Zoom also every Sunday. And tomorrow evening we're also having a brief observance of our foundress's birthday. Lady Lorian was born on June 8th back in 1933, and we will be talking about her on Zoom. And since she loved, she was a good one for birthday cake, but she really loved her ice cream. So I highly recommend tomorrow that you have your favorite ice cream, and we can share some memories of Lady Lorian. And so that will be happening tomorrow. And unfortunately, I don't have the exact time at this point. I will post it to my Facebook page. So if you want to participate, you're more than welcome to do so. And I'm hoping that everyone is finding a way through this difficult and challenging time. And as we begin to reopen, we're trying to find the best pathway there too. And we have been informed that we can have religious ceremonies here again, so that is exciting. As of yet, our retreat center operations are still in abeyance, but we are also hoping that in another week or two we will be able to welcome people back here for overnight stays. In the meantime, it's interesting, we've been having a lot of people stop by, and we are allowed to have people outside here, and so people have been enjoying looking at our animals and our birds and our great tree, of course, and chatting with us. Because ironically, although our retreat center can't be open, the wineries are now open, so you can go wine tasting. You just don't have any place to stay overnight, which if you really think about that, that's probably not terribly good for overall health if people get a little too deep into tasting wine. It probably would be a good idea for them to have some place to stay overnight. But some of these requirements are not as logical as we might necessarily think. So anyway, I don't think I'm getting back. I am back in the main Zoom room, so I'm going to turn us back over to our participants in Zoom. And if you have anything that you want to say to me, if you want to make a comment, I will try to include it too. And now we're going to Jeff and Linda Isles in progress.
Oh, deTraci's back.
She is. I'm gonna let her pop on as soon as Jeff was done. I'm just gonna let her pop.
Okay. He's done.
Linda.
No, he said.
Okay, is it?
Okay, deTraci, let's put you on spotlight video. Let's see if this will let me do this time. There's something wrong with deTraci's thing today.
Okay, I'm unmuting myself.
Hold on, deTraci. I gotta give me a minute. I'm trying to get you back off. There we go. Okay.
We are definitely having some technical difficulties. I'm not seeing myself as the spotlight. Should I be?
You are. The
Okay.
spotlight.
Okay. Not that I need to be, but nonetheless, I'm not sure where I actually was lost. So,
For healing for everybody. That's what it sounded like you were doing.
I certainly, I was asking for healing definitely for all of those that I know in Brazil, because they are really suffering down there, and there's a lot of problems in people getting help and care. And so I do ask for everyone's prayers for that, because, but for prayers really for the worldwide. I think every country is suffering in its own way right now. We're all sharing the suffering, but it's really shining a spotlight on where every fracture is, and I mean, ultimately this is a good thing that we can heal from, and that we can rebuild and become better and more powerful. And I mean powerful in the sense of knowing ourselves and being able to go freely through the world, not in power over anybody, but to really realign. And this has really brought home the fact that all over the world there are places that are really out of alignment and that need to be restored to a greater sense of humanity. And that's what I'm hoping that we come through this with, is a greater sense of humanity, and that we go back to a time of greater compassion and caring for everyone. And I think that is what we will achieve, but there's still some rough days ahead. And I think they will continue for some time to come, but ultimately I think that we will be truly in a better world without leaving this one, but of making this one a better world. That's all from me.
Thank you, deTraci. You were wonderful, and we heard that, and let us pray for people in Brazil. I think today, instead of just doing the closing prayer, which is what we're going to do that, but before we do that, I'm going to ask everybody to stand up, no matter where you're at. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask everybody to stand up, and this is always interesting. Okay. Please, everyone, stand up wherever you're at, and what we're going to do is we're going to do an offering of healing today. This is our prayer for all those who are suffering, for all those who are in need, and all those who are lost. Divine Mother, you of 10,000 names, you who manifest in all of your glory, you who came to Apuleius on the shores of Alexandria, he was trapped. When you came, you manifested, and you stilled the sounds of the harbor, you stilled the waves, and as the moon rose over the water, you walked into your grace, and you said, weep no more, lament no longer, for the hour of your deliverance is at hand. Weep no more, lament no longer, for the hour of your deliverance is at hand. This is the prayer and the blessing that you gave joyfully. This is the prayer and the blessing that we give to all of us. Weep no more, lament no longer, for the hour of our deliverance is at hand. So I say, Divine Mother, help us to remember those words. Let us carve those words upon the walls of the temple in our heart. Let us remember that your most ancient name in the Egyptian was beloved. Let us remember that we are the beloved of the beloved, that you sit in our hearts, that you are the path of love. You are love in all of its forms, grief, sorrow, bliss, and pain. You are all of them. You are Isis Mahamundi, Mother of all souls. And Divine Mother, we invoke you. We invoke you, we invoke you, we invoke you. Come, guard and protect and guide and bless us all with your love and with your light. By whatever name we call out to you, in sorrow and pain, words that are uttered, unuttered prayers of our hearts, take them, Divine Mother, and hear us, hear our prayers, and be with us. For all that is Isis. Lady Office, please be here. And now we're going to go ahead and do the closing prayer. We come into this world with all these gifts and more, our very own special lessons. Let us thank the goddess for that which she bestows. Let us go forth refreshed and renewed with the dedication to preserve and protect all life, for we are all children of life, the great Mother. Thank you all for being here. You all are blessed and you all are loved, and the Divine Mother is all that is. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for being with us on this. It was a little bit unusual as we go back and forth between Facebook and Zoom. But thank you for sharing this time. I hope you have a beautiful day and that it brings you many insights and comforts and joys even in this challenging time. So Goddess bless, and may you all be purified by the sound of the sistrum. May it shake off the cobwebs. May it make room for new thoughts and new life and joy. Hello to everyone, and